Hey, welcome to the Tom and Josh Show. I'm Josh. This is Tom. This week we are going to be talking surprises from Week 7, which was the bye week from hell. I'm sure a lot of folks had a lot of guys that were missing and just totally ruining their fantasy week, but we'll get to that. All right. So, first off, biggest surprise for me was CJ Uzomah. And This was a guy, okay, I picked this guy up 15 minutes before 12 o'clock, all right? And then I dropped him because I listened to the experts, right, saying, O.J. Howard, we are the experts, right? In my gut, I was like, this guy, right, he gets touchdowns. He just does. He is just there, and he gets the touchdowns, and I felt confident in that. I looked at Fantasy Pros. It said, O.J. Howard's your better bet. And I said, okay, I'll go with it. And I lost the week because of it. So, CJ Uzomah, 2 touchdowns, right? Only the 3 catches on the day, but a huge day if you are banking on some replacement for a lot of the guys that were on bye week. In my case, it was an injury to Darren Waller. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, I replaced Dalton Schultz with CJ Uzomah, and that worked out well for me. And I'm sure like a lot of us were in a bunch of leagues, but in that league, it won me my matchup. And so, like we said, he's touchdown dependent. He's only got about 3 targets a game. He had 3 targets on Sunday for 3 catches and 2 touchdowns. So like I don't know if that's production that you can count on to that degree, but a good streaming option. And this is a guy that's maybe not now after this big week, but you get those guys that kind of get picked up, used for a week, and then dropped again. So I'm curious to see if that's going to be CJ Uzomah's role, and for a week-to-week touchdown-dependent guy that might win you your matchup that week.
Yeah, so. And that Bengals offense is just humming. Right, they've got so many guys. Jamar Chase had that huge touchdown, right, where he spun off of like 3 guys. So much for all this talk about Jamar Chase in the preseason, right? We're about halfway, almost, well, I guess not quite now with the longer season, but, right, he's just been phenomenal. So, anyway.
It's historically good.
Historically good. Yeah. And just one of those guys makes you regret passing him up, especially in Dynasty Leagues, right? I think he dropped a little bit just from all of that talk of folks, right, saying he was dropping everything. He's going to be a bum. And he's not. Yeah. So here we are. Who you got next for surprises?
Khalil Herbert. So I'm in Chicago, so we're going to get to another Bear a little bit later. But Khalil Herbert, and what was just a disaster of a game for the Bears, he looked pretty good. Yeah. He's averaging 18 carries a game. He mixes into the passing game with them. I think he had 5 receptions this weekend, and I kind of think he's a real threat to Montgomery when he comes back. Like, Khalil Herbert's been not a guy that you never know with the Bears coaching staff, but any logical person or coach would say that this dude has earned some playing time, no matter who's coming into that running game. He looked really good and was kind of the lone bright spot on what was just a horrible day for the Bears.
Yeah, he looks so explosive, and I'm gonna look right, Packers fan. And I am going to be really disappointed if all of a sudden, I had mentioned this a couple weeks ago, if Tariq Cohen comes back and starts siphoning away too much of the work from Herbert, I'm going to be really disappointed. And I'll be honest, I own Herbert in one of our leagues, and he's been phenomenal, right? And so just like you said, it's totally working out and got to be a threat. You would think it's got to be a threat. Now, Montgomery is young. He's not an older guy.
Right.
I forget, was he a 3rd-round pick? I thought he was up there in terms of draft capital back in the day. It's only a couple of years ago, right? But who knows, right? It's just one of those things. Matt Nagy,
Well, he's got COVID now, so maybe with him stepping
There
away
you
from the
go.
team a little
There you
bit.
go. It takes.
Yeah, and I should mention that I'm a Packers fan as well, so not to be
Sure,
confused.
sure, sure.
So,
And this happened to, I don't know if he picked up the duties again this week, but I remember Nagy taking a step back a week or two ago, and everybody got excited. So we'll see what happens
right.
this week in terms of
Maybe better days to come
fingers
for them.
crossed
Yeah,
for the Bears fans, right?
Who knows? Sure. Yeah, not for
Rodgers
us
still
so
owns
much,
them,
but-
right? So not a problem there. So the next guy that I want to talk about, so I mentioned Darren Waller just a minute ago, and as I was, doom scrolling through possible tight ends who could fill in for this potentially, at the time it was a potential injury, Foster Moreau, right? His replacement on the Raiders, and I sat there and I said, Darren Waller is unique. In this offense, he's kind of this one-of-a-kind guy who's, if somebody were to step in and replace him, he's not going to get the same volume. Here comes Foster Moreau, right? 6 catches, 60 yards later, and a touchdown. So it's just one of those things, right? Where huge surprise there. Now, he's been relatively involved. I think he played 100% of the snaps this week. Just that offense, that Las Vegas offense, if you've got Waller and you're kind of concerned about his injuries, Foster Moreau might as well, right? Might as well slide him in there now. Week 8, they've got the bye, so probably not somebody that you would be able to plug in this week, but if you have a really deep bench, perhaps I would consider picking him up. Now, there's no signs that Waller's going to miss too much time, but if they're putting that much volume into tight end, yeah, I would go Moreau.
Yeah, I think that's a guy that's, especially now that you mentioned with the bye week, is probably going to be available in a lot of leagues. People that are picking up free agents aren't usually grabbing guys on bye for ahead of time. And, they're going through a coaching change of their own as well. So we're kind of still waiting to see how this offense is going to shake out, if it's going to be much different at all. But the Raiders are a team that loves their tight ends. So if Waller's not playing,
yeah, definitely. And we had put that video out there a couple weeks ago, right? As soon as Gruden got fired, we were out there, and everything's kind of come true since that video. Is we were saying, hey, Bisaccia is going to come in. It's going to be Greg Olson, who's going to be taking over is it Greg Olson? I'll cut this part out, right? But I'm pretty sure, yeah, right? But the offensive coordinator has been there for 4 years. He's been the guy. He's going to be calling the plays, and so this was all kind of predicted that it was going to be more of the same. In this case, it lit a spark under a lot of the guys on that team. So good things seems like coming out of that Vegas offense. So, what did you think about Kansas City this last weekend?
You spend enough time online and you see stuff because the league figured out Patrick Mahomes, and I don't buy that. I don't buy that stuff. But there's clearly an issue. The defense is bad, but the defense has never been awesome, and that hasn't slowed down that offense. So it's surprising to see them struggle this badly.
I think I echo pretty much everything you said. Now, the Mahomes stuff, right, where just I don't know what it is. He's got all these turnovers, and he's mentioned that, he's got to clean it up and everything. And I've seen a lot of stuff that just he needs that accountability, right, where it needs to be this, all these other quarterbacks get dumped on for all these turnovers and everything, and Mahomes is leading them. He's got so many turnovers in the last few weeks that I'm really hoping they figure something out. I think it's a good quality bunch of guys, obviously, and you wish them well. And they're obviously this hugely talented group. I should mention that the stuff with Jackson Mahomes is trash. Just
He's
the worst.
He is the worst.
No, I've if you've seen
Yeah.
kind of the different angles on that video, and this is people have probably beat this to death on.
Talking about the Sean Taylor one.
Yeah, exactly, the Sean Taylor.
Yeah,
But if you've
yeah.
seen the different angles, it is totally like the team just set them there on top of the logo. Probably shouldn't have danced on it, right? Okay, we'll move on. Right, nobody wants to hear about Jackson Mahomes anymore. But yeah, that Kansas City offense, right, because we're talking fantasy sports. I was just playing against Tyreek Hill this past week. Got really excited that he didn't score 20-plus points on me, so that was really great.
Right.
But again, they've got to figure something out. I think they're a good enough team to figure it out. They have a good enough coaching staff, so I'm not freaking out. They'll be there in the
not worried
postseason
long term.
for sure, right? I don't think
Yeah.
there's any concern for that team, for them moving forward.